Okay, well, Jeannie needs no introduction, but I'll introduce her anyway. Um, Jeannie and I and Regina, who unfortunately can't make it today, have been working together for, I don't know, 5, 6 years now. Um, in my opinion, they're two of the most amazing mediums I've certainly ever met or worked with. And one of our projects has been the Cosmic Voices website. Cosmic Voices, one word, dot network, cosmicvoices.network. And I'm going to turn this over to Jeannie in a moment, but just wanted to mention that we're going to be doing some readings from the collection of channeled works on that website. And maybe, who knows, there may be some other surprises today. So, Jeanne Love, take it away.
Well, thank you, everyone. I really miss Regina, but I know she's here in spirit, and it's just lovely to see all you wonderful people. I just was sitting here while you were talking, and just amazed at this grouping, and I'm just feeling very blessed. Before we get too far into this, I do want us to center with our protocol that we use, which is the shield work. And I do want to say that there definitely are spirits here that are going to be talking to you. And I have to tell you particularly, well, they're all here, but the one that has been very prominent with me is Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And she is so prominent that I'll trying to get dressed and get myself ready was very interesting. I don't have any functional pearl necklaces, but I did wear my pearl inner rings in honor of her that my daughter gave to me. Um,
And for those who aren't familiar with her, she is a former member of the United States Supreme Court.
yes, and when she left, that was a big gaping hole. Part of the reason, as Americans, we're finding ourselves in a different orientation now. But so yes, there definitely will be live commentary on some of the messages that we'll be bringing forth to you. And when you talk about the mediumship, um, I don't know if I'm brilliant or not, but I know that I'm very grateful that I have the ability to literally hear spirit pretty directly, conversationally. It's kind of interesting to live in my head and to live in my house with the things that go on. And I'm just grateful because it certainly brought me into a very interesting path. Not necessarily for those faint of heart, but grateful that I have people who are willing to listen and to share in the messages because that's really the most important part of all this. So, as we have been doing for the last year or so, um, we use a protocol that Spirit gave to us to protect us from negative energies. And so we're going to go, first of all, into that quieter space within us and visualize a small four-sided individual pyramid that goes around us. And at the base of the pyramid, we have two boundary lines. The first one is at the very base, and then the next one's about a foot and a half out. And as we put that into place, we feel that energy uh, going to the top of the pyramid, and we are in the intention of ultimate protection, that there's only goodness, there's truth, there's wisdom, there's light, there's love that comes into our consciousness today and helps us tune in as a group. We've really been having some amazing experiences collectively as this wonderful group has learned how to come into this unified field. And so that's where we're setting our attentions today, taking some slow, deep breaths, relaxing, looking forward with an open mind and with an ego that's quiet and silent, perhaps sleeping, so that we can really receive in the flow of things and allow our mind to relax and hear what is coming through with the most openness of ability as possible. And so we breathe that knowing we're in this nice protected space. We feel ourselves grounded all the way to the soles of our feet. We welcome all the people that are going to be in attendance today, those we see, those we do not see. Oh, I'm so grateful that we're here for another Sunday. Then we allow ourselves to go into a bigger shield, And we call these bands of energy around us energy band waves. And we go into a bigger space. There's a configuration that we sent out a while ago to see how that plays out in our minds. We're basically going into a larger protection shield, which is in a larger four-sided pyramid, a big pyramid. It's also light inside. It's not dark or dank. It's very much a sanctuary presence. We go through the element of the angelic node. We come into the main part of the pyramid. We find a place to sit, whether it's in a nice reclining chair or in a yoga position, whatever we feel most comfortable with. And we continue to ground and expand all at the same time, welcoming our spirit teams with us, our protectors, our guides, and those speakers today. And we sit in this quietness and this reverence for a few moments. We breathe into that presence so that we are now moving into that expanded, more open energy field, so that we may be participating in a frequency which brings us gifts. It gives us healing, it gives us love, it gives us understanding and wisdom. Whatever it is that we are needing for the day, we shall receive it. And these energy bands, there's 3 of them, and they spin, one clockwise, one counterclockwise, and one clockwise, all the way up to the top of the pyramid. And they spin with such a velocity that nothing but love and light and peace and higher vibration energy can be with us. There is a 4th that goes counterclockwise, that's a blue-violet, that really kind of seals the deal. So we come into this wonderful presence. And we know that we are in a protected field, and we are in this wonderful unified field of love and light and wisdom. All right, I think we're ready, Dan. So take it away.
Hey, I guess it must be about 5 years ago now. We created our website, the Cosmic Voices website, and I'd like to share my screen now and show you the site. Let's see. Dum, 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 dum. Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah, because I can't see the results here.
Yes.
Anyway, okay. Well, this is our landing page here. Welcome to Cosmic Voices, messages for our time from the greater reality. In a time of deepening global crises, we have created this website to bring together some of the most profound wisdom and creative inspiration we have received from a variety of channeled sources. In offering these messages, we seek no believers or followers. If some seem challenging to accept, please feel free to take from them whatever may be meaningful to you. We hope they inspire you as much as they have inspired us. So we enter here. There's a long welcoming statement, which I think we can bypass here and go directly to the messages. Now, on this page, we have 2 columns, names you may recognize, names you may not recognize. And the ones you may recognize, you will probably all recognize. But I think some of the most important statements are right here up on top. One is from George Harrison. And he says, "I'm not a big shot over here. I'm not a famous celebrity. I'm not a special musician or lyricist. I'm George." And from Alan Rickman, "I haven't had much desire to get to the famous people here because once they're here, for the most part, they lose that famous identity. That is for a good reason. Lingering in the past brings no fruitful present."
And I have to say that when I was on my phone this morning, of course, going through my stuff while I'm having breakfast, everything that I was seeing was Alan Rickman today.
Mm-hmm.
People were posting Alan Rickman all over the place, and I was just laughing because it was all I could find. And that certainly wasn't what the algorithm was that I was establishing. So he was definitely saying, I'm going to be there today. Hello, tell everybody hello. So that's another little fun thing.
Well, Jean, would you like to read either Alan Rickman's channeling or any of the others?
Yes, but I would like to say we got started. Most of you know this, but for those of you who may not have been in on this, uh, when we kind of got reintroduced to the foundation of mind being research people with the Challenger scripts and communication, we were then able to do several workshops and presentations uh, starting in the late 2017, 2018. And one of them was a wonderful workshop with the indigenous grandmothers. And that's when I first, when Regina and I first met down. But also there was a lady there named Cindy Spring, who is the producer also for Cosmic Oasis. And she had a dear friend, Frances One. Some of you may know about her because she's a transcendental, not transcendental, but I can't think of it, I'm altered, sorry, psychologist. It's big
Transpersonal.
Transpersonal, thank you. And she had died, she'd passed recently at that time and had come through Cindy in automatic writing, and Cindy was very surprised about that. And she wanted to check with us if that was really true, or she was, hallucinating or whatever. And we both confirmed, yes, that definitely was Cindy. So they began a relationship. I mean, it was definitely Frances coming through Cindy. So Cindy and Regina developed a lovely relationship, and Regina helped her further with her automatic writing skills and trusting spirit and all the things that need to happen so you feel like you're really allowing the transmission to be clear. And things progressed, and Cindy said, I wish we could create some kind of a book or some kind of a collaborative experience where we could bring good messages into people, because the world was just spinning around so much, and it was COVID, et cetera, et cetera. And she said she had some book that she knew that I'm sorry, I don't remember it, that was very inspirational that you could pick up and you'd be inspired by writings. And so she and Regina Ochoa were talking about this quite at length. And Cindy said to Regina, well, can you have like 10 people write through you, messages and communications? And Regina at the time thought, well, 10's a lot, Cindy. She said, maybe I could do 5, but I know Jeannie would love to do 5. So we started talking about it, and then, 5, 10, 15, 20, and they're still waiting to communicate. They're 2 bits, if you will. And it's not like they are super smart or superheroes, but they do have a vantage point. And some people wonder why we were doing the popular, well-known people. Well, first of all, it's public domain. But secondly, nobody would necessarily know someone that was not of public appearance. And it just blossomed. In fact, we know there are more that are waiting to come through, but we just haven't had time in our private lives to incorporate all that.
Yeah, there's a standing joke over there on the other side that so many people want to come through that they're having to give out numbered tickets.
So it's been fun, and it's been very inspirational for both Regina and myself. And so what I would like to go to first, Dan, is Ruth Bader Ginsburg, because she's just so prominent with me right now. And when she first passed, she talked to us. She did some writing, but she asked for it not to be put up on Cosmic Voices. She said she just really wasn't ready for that yet. And every once in a while, I watch the other mediums who have television presence. And I saw Tyler Henry. I don't know if he's international or not. He's a young boy. He's almost 30 now, but when he started, I don't think he was 20. He's very good. And apparently, Ruth's family, extended family, hired him to have a reading. And it was interesting to watch the way he presented information to them, because he didn't know. He's so young, he doesn't know these people, and he doesn't always know these famous people, because hasn't had the experience with them. And he just really got her beautifully. And I think she's been with a few others, wanting really her family to know, what's going on and how she is. And so she did come through then a second time. And actually, I think that second time was actually before Tyler. But anyway, was feeling more comfortable with being public if that was going to happen. So yes, I definitely would like to find her piece. And it really surprised me. She passed in September of 2020, so she was there really in the passing in the thick of COVID. And she had overcome a lot of illness, and we were hoping she'd hang on because she seemed to be only one of the few justices that had any kind of social conscience about her. And of course, we all know Martin Luther King Jr., who's come through me several times, a very strong energy. So this came through April 9th, 2024, which is over a year ago. And this was taken, this is an excerpt out of the darker print about seeing the problems. But I would like to get into where it says, where it starts with Ruth. And she says, good evening, Jean. And of course, I'm saying good evening, Ruth. And she said, she goes, can you make it bigger, Dan? She said, I can't read it. That's funny. I'm sorry.
Is that better?
Yes, it says, thank you. She said, it might seem easy to you folks that I can read through Jean and it should be simple, but it is not, because I'm having to alter my energy field to such a level to be able to do the processing that the human does, which is read through her. And she said, I wasn't expecting the adjustment. So she says, bear with me. She's a very measured speaker, measured personality. She says, I am very happy to be here with you and your family this evening. It makes me a bit homesick. However, I have had some success in communicating myself to those who love me. I am finally ready and feel sure about my abilities to communicate in a strong and balanced way. At first, I wasn't sure how my emotional nature would translate. However, I am quite practiced now, and as such, I'm ready to go. It is an interesting place to be for this Jewish woman, scholar, and political soldier. Before my passing, I would not have described myself as a political soldier, more the tenacious feminist who thought it was just time to vacate the old patriarchal road in government and other places. Since passing, I have come to realize what a soldier I always was, for truth, fairness, justice, and a balanced mind, free of heretical theories and BS. I've come to understand that I've always ranged between justice and fairness because sometimes the two can be at odds. I've come to believe and have witnessed with my own heavenly eyes that there are more communalities in the quality of desired human life than we have ever thought possible. I did and do believe in that, but having served on the highest court in the land, I was beginning to be a bit tainted by the cases that came across our bench day after day. Now I have a certain freedom that many do not have, mainly because there is no belief. I do believe, however, for I am now in this amazing position to view, peruse, and assess the worldly conditions, its karma, and the beliefs which ravage a potentially sacred place. I have cried many tears as a human being, but now I have felt the weight of those tears multiplied by millions upon millions of souls. When I was first acclimating to my new journey, I asked to be shown the darker parts of this afterworld. I was cautioned and warned that it might be too soon for that type of experience. However, being the ever so curious person I remain, it was highly unlikely that I would be talked out of this learning situation. And so, armed with many protective spirits, I was able to visit the darker aspects of non-human life. I am just learning these cosmic terms, so bear with me if I seem a little old-fashioned in my descriptions. I don't know if I want to read all of this, but I want to go down further to when she has the interaction with Martin Luther King. So I'm going to start with those who were seeking comfort. Oh, we've gone too far, Dan. Go back. Right there. Those who were seeking comfort in this bizarre turn of events were sorely disappointed. We seemed stuck, flailing in mud like quicksand. Oh, I guess I'm going to have to go back up to it because that's out of context. Sorry. There. At first, we were told to sit and listen to some beautiful and very etheric music. That was very easy to do because I love music and have been a supporter for so many musical events, performers, orchestras, etc. It was quite grand, and I thought to myself, well, this isn't so bad. What could go wrong? And then as we acclimated further, the music began to change, distort, and the chords and the melodies took on a darker minor tone. It was still palatable. However, within a few minutes that all changed, and I found myself sitting in a place where I was very uncomfortable, where I felt slightly nauseated and was unable to sit still. The light was very dim, and as I looked around me, I didn't see much but outlines of energies, like the proverbial ghost that lingers in the hallway. I became a bit frightened until one of our guides took my hand and calmed my spirit. I began to rethink my brilliant idea of this venturing out and wondered how long it would be before I would be ushered home. Those who were seeking comfort in this bizarre turn of events were sorely disappointed. We seemed stuck, flailing in mud like quicksand, never finding our footing as we went further and further into the darkness. The music changed to noise, and we were completely in the dark at this point. No light, no warmth, no guidance, or so it seemed. And then when I felt I could no longer withstand this place anymore, there was a tiny bit of light that shone around us, calming us and bringing us to a level of quiet, without fear, just a place where there was nothing. And just like that, in the movies, there was a sudden booming voice which began to speak as if it needed to fill a football stadium with its sound. This being was deafening as it drew us into its essence for a moment of truth. And this is where Martin comes in. This is what you came to experience, did you not? This is what you wanted to touch with your own mind, to place the possibility of darker places, perhaps even worlds, is it not? And then I say, as Ruth, suddenly there was this huge sigh, a collective breath, as those of us seeking to know were feeling a bit relieved that we were not going to spend eternity in this darker place. And with that awareness, there was this tremendous raucous laughter coming from the same being who had been asking those questions. It was jarring and a bit frightening because those of us who had traveled here seeking understanding were now feeling quite vulnerable and a bit worried about what would happen next. The laughter seemed to break the spell of terror that had begun to creep into our minds, and now we found ourselves coming back into some form of light. Calm was now helping us to relax, and once again we felt watched over and taken care of. We all could hear ourselves saying at the same time, "What in God's name was that all about?" And then I recognized an energy, a presence that felt so familiar and so welcoming that I burst into tears. And then Martin said, "This is the mountain I told you about. This is the location of all that we must climb in order to reach the pinnacle of our own salvation. This is where you just walked, and this is what you have just experienced. I told you that I had been to the mountain and that I had seen and experienced its glory. And now I have taken you all to this mountain so that you may each and every one of you have your own pinnacle experience with the truth of your souls. The darkness, the loss that you felt just now was the reminder that when we do not believe, when we do not see clearly the love of the divine, we ourselves are destroyed, destined to dwell in a place without music, joy, laughter, compassion, or justice. When we do not believe, we are lost with no compass to guide us, to move us forward. Our own weaknesses, prejudices, guilt, and shame ride like the wind on our journeys in the human world. We cannot see, touch, or feel the glory of the mountain, because we get lost in the adventure of advancing to the mountain. Some do not even get close to the base of the mountain. Many only get a quarter of a third of a way. Sadder still, there are those almost at the top languish from exhaustion, having given up their dream before it realized. That, my dear friends, is what it is like when we can no longer feed our consciousness, when we have lost all hope and have become barren in our understanding of this world and its many beauties. The opportunities we seek become blurred, weighted down by indifference and loss of faith and hope. I took you there, my dear friends, because it is time for the nightmare to end and the visions and the dreams to realign with the original purpose of this realm. I have taken you there or here so that you may understand that no matter what seems to be lost, it can always be found. That what seems to have disappeared is right before us, waiting to be re-engaged. I have taken you here so that you can understand the fate of the earth and her people, so that what you can see beyond the darkness of the world and have the faith to help her come back to life, to light, and to an eternity of self-discovery and play. And Ruth, of course, comes in and says, and this has been my experience, Jeanne, since I last communicated with you. Yes, I have visited family and all my loved ones. We have shared many stories and laughed at our trials and tribulations. We have cried over the state of the world and juggled the concepts of a world made whole and a world condemned to die. The interesting thing here is that I've truly come to understand is how much power we actually have in a world that continually tells us that we have no power. I have been freed by what I have discovered. I believe I have even transcended a bit from the limited cultural views I grew up with, as well as those views I have cultivated. I must think that I will never stop learning and growing. And now that I know, I can continue to do so. Well, my life and all of its stories is but one book in an unlimited library of Ruth. The names will be changed to protect the innocent. I couldn't believe it, Jeanne, when I heard his voice and felt his energy. Martin remains to this day commanding, impervious to others, and the darkness which seeks to destroy the light. He is pure energy, thought, a much larger entity than he was in the human form. He held me with his thoughts, thanked me for everything that I accomplished when I was Ruth, and comforted me when my thinking about the world and all of its challenges. He reminded me that we are eternal, continual, and ever expanding, and that we have the potential to continue in the greatness of spreading love and removing fear, showing compassion and forgiveness to erase fear and judgment. And that is what I have been witnessing and experiencing over these last few years. Do I see the struggles on earth? Yes, of course I do. Do I wallow in the darkness of despair? No. I walk with the angels now, sing in the heavenly choirs, travel the cosmic skies, and learn from the masters about life and its never-ending possibilities. How I wish I could share more about these wonderful opportunities for health and happiness. And so I will do what I can and spread what I know to be true. I will spend my time learning what I can, doing what I can, and being what I can. The fear isn't about the mountain. The fear is in triumphing, in getting to the top of the mountain. To do that, we must overcome our fears. That is how we transcend. We rise when we clear our fears. We move without resistance. We overcome through understanding our beauty, our essence. We become as we let go of all which no longer serves our beauty and inner character. We discover ourselves, and that we can serve a higher community, a community filled with right action, compassion, truth, understanding, forgiveness, joy, and laughter. We are all part of the solution and all part of the division. Love is the energy which brings us into harmony, helping each of us to learn our parts, sing our songs, paint our paintings, dance all night, and become this grand gift to the universe, which will support us all, always. Thank you for your time, Jeanne.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jeannie.
So I would like to, if we can, sit with this for a moment
Yeah.
and hold the energy that Ruth is bringing to us so that we can uh, carry that with us today and through our week and month. Her energy is very prominent. I know you feel it. And she is a quiet force, but unmovable in a great way. And I really enjoyed this more than in the writing because I can feel her in talking to you. I feel the essence and the truth of what she's saying, which of course we all know and believe in, but she really wants to know that we are not just intellectually receiving this, that our heart is receiving this, that our mind is receiving it, that a soul of us is remembering and experiencing this in these times of upheaval and uncertainty, and that we carry that with us. And she's still here. If anybody wants to ask a question of Ruth, you may do so right now because she is up for the Q&A briefly for a few moments, if there's anyone.
I don't know about anyone else, but I'm just still digesting it. And this is a message I've read so many times, and it gets deeper each time. Giles.
Well, I'm sure that the political situation is not permanent. How long will it last before recovery happens? Roughly.
Ruth has she has a serious answer and then she has kind of a funny answer. She said, if I were to be on the bench right now and still be in my position and looking at the chaos, supposedly, she said, I would have a fear that it would last much too long than necessary. She said, but from where I am on the other side, the thing is that there's always a possibility at certain times that the cycle can shift depending on the collective and depending on what people do with their opportunities. This is a this is a gift to the people, she said. This is a gift to the people to decide who they are and how they want to show themselves. And so she said, the way things are going right now, it's going to be a little longer cycle than we had hoped for. And she said, in terms of years, she said, 50 years that it's going to take to undo the damage that has been done so quickly. She said, but on a larger perspective, if I stand back with my friends and we look at how things are going, she said, there is some possibility if enough people join that collective to make it 30, 35 years. And so she said, we can't say for sure simply because it really depends on how many in the world decide they're going to step into a more proactive stance. And she said, proaction can mean a lot of things. First of all, people have to really understand that it's up to them and that no one is going to come to rescue a population. So in the US, what is having to happen is that people have to wake up and realize that nobody's going to rescue them, that they're going to have to stand in changing things themselves. Now, the European community and some of the other global communities south of in the southern hemisphere, they have their own personal struggles, but they also understand more effectively what needs to happen. And so consequently, their energetic is moving more quickly toward a collective of being able to move out of this chaos. But again, it has to be this unified field. She says when Gandhi had to generate the people in India, he said he only had one country basically he had to motivate, many millions and millions of people, but still. But she says this is different because this is really global. And she says if you think it's just the US struggling, we all know that's true, but the ramifications are global. And what is the global community going to do? She says, what I can tell you is it is really worth the price of the popcorn for the show. And she said, you might not think that's funny because of what's going on. But when you realize, as you all do, or you wouldn't be here, that we are eternal, and this is just part of the cycle of this earth, knowing itself and making decisions as who it wants to be and what it wants to be, and to get rid of some of the old archaic thoughts that have really, really hampered so many cultures at times, and particularly in the US because the male-dominated presence has just made it so difficult to progress. And so that's why this is coming up, and it has to at some point be faced that not just women protesting, but men and women protest side by side, hand in hand to the imbalance. And so again, that's the way it looks now. Now, if I were to come back in another 2 months or so, it may have shifted, and it could be worse or better. It depends on what each person does and how they join the collective in that experience. But she's very hopeful. She said, I was very pragmatic. I had to be very pragmatic. I had to look at the facts. I had to weigh both sides, even if I didn't totally agree with what was coming up, because I had to make the best decision, all things considered. And she says, all things considered, as much as she says, pardon my language, as much of a shit show as it looks, she said there really is going to be some fantastic shifting happening as when it finally takes over. It's just walking through this very difficult place right now. And as Martin said, it's that mountain, and everybody is being given the opportunity to walk their own mountain of fear, because that is what is going on with the way things are happening. The fear, in the US, and how it's triggering fear everywhere else. And so this is what Ruth says, this is what I would like you to understand, is to think about your own mountains and continue to be directing your feelings that things will improve, that people will wake up, that people will stand strong, that people will overcome their fears, because it's the overcoming of the fears that will change the trajectory of what happens for this country in its youth, because it's really a very youthful country and it's so full of itself. But she said, I like caramel popcorn and I like chocolate covered popcorn. And sometimes I like a little lemon zest on my popcorn. So keep me in mind when you're watching the show that Ruth is sitting there and she's got her friends on either side, and we're watching the show, but we're also holding space and love and truth and hopefulness for all of you. We're not just letting ourselves be entertained. This is very serious, but also we know that laughter and light and joy has to be present in order to move through the fear. And she says, if there are any more questions, she's going to leave, but if there are, she'll answer.
Okay, Lloyd has his hand up.
Yeah, boy, that's really the theme. I guess to make a long story short, does she have any advice about how to walk through the fear in a consistent enough way to not just get lost? How to keep focused?
She brings you back to Martin and his vision of the mountain, what that means, and that metaphor for keeping your eye, your mind's eye, your third eye, your brain, your thoughts on the mountain, and achieving that mountaintop experience, being able to get to the mountain, being so focused But no matter what it tells you below, no matter what climate you go through, because a really tall mountain, you're going to go through many climates until you get to the top. And no matter what each climate tells you, you know that there's more than just that climate, and you can get to where you need to be. And she said it's that vision. She said that's why you have people like Martin and others who were so prophetic and so charismatic, because they were just contagious with their presence, because they'd been there. They'd been there, and so they could share that. I've been to the mountain, metaphorically, I've been there, seeing the glory. And when you can feed a crowd positively like that, that's what keeps things moving. And it's not denial of what's going on. This is just a process to getting to the next part of our evolution on this planet, which means that we want to really throw away the hate. We really want to throw away the division. We really want to throw away the idea that we're enemies to one another, and realize that we're all from source. And whatever you need to do within yourself, she refers to me in the work that I was doing, going to kind of retire now because I want to focus on other things, but clearing out our own fears. We can't get to the mountain if we're afraid. And it's important for us to be able to face our fears and do whatever process it is that works for us to eliminate those fears. There's all sorts of techniques and ways to move parts of ourselves into healing, and whatever works for you, or find something that does. I mean, I love the Ho'oponopono and there are a lot of really strong modalities, but we must really focus on our own inner life, what our fears are, what our dialoguing is. And as we clear up our own stories in our own life cycle, then we really can add the light to the general population. So we do not, as you say, get caught and get in the rabbit hole or go down the abyss. We must stay strong in ourselves. And she said, you're going to have your moments, because it's really, some of this stuff that's happening is just beyond conscionable. But you've still got to hold that knowing that this is temporary and that it's part of the process, and we want to get through it as quickly as possible. And that knowing that we never die means that nothing's ever really lost. It's just changing shape. And we want to change the shape of the fear level being stronger right now into love. And love is not just, oh, I love you. Love is knowing and seeing beyond anything that that's all there is. There's no division. There's only unity.
I like that answer. Thank you.
She said, I worked hard and long for this. She said, I might have been slow to start, but now that I'm going, you are probably going to have to pull me off the stage to get me to be quiet.
Thank you very much indeed. I love that answer. That's sane, balanced, and we are all eternal beings, so there's nothing to worry about. And oh dear, the show goes on. Get the popcorn out. Yes.
Gordon has a question or a comment.
Okay. Hi, Ruth. I'm a Canadian, so I'm not as attached to the issues as some Americans are. I sit in the balcony and watch your culture evolve. And I'm wondering, as you are where you are, do you have a wish to converse with former members of the Supreme Court, say people that were there 100 years ago or so? And if you do, what sort of stuff do you talk about?
First of all, Gordon, hi. She says hi. She's really struggling to come in a little more, and as Jeannie, I'm kind of just wanting to translate for her, but she really just wants to be here. And she says, she said, I try to get Jean to look at your poetry that you post. And she said, I really enjoy what interests you and what you post on Facebook. She said, I'm a partner in crime, she says. So if she wants to let you know that she likes to follow you as much as she can. And she said, well, we have it's interesting. She said the justices that have served in the last, let's say, 100 years, some of them have returned into an earth body already
Ah,
because they overlooked their decisions and choices and decided they needed to do better. And some of them decided they just needed to get there and continue. They haven't stayed out of that spectrum of politics or all of that realm. As she said, I don't want to get into specifics, but let's just say that the ones, if there were, I don't know, let's just say 50 judges over the last 100 years or whatever, she said, more than half of them have gone back into a body. They were counseled both ways that maybe they didn't want to come in so quickly, but some of them were just, once they saw and remembered themselves out of this energy field of humanness, wanted to be able to go back and still continue to breed positive change. And she said, for the most part, they were aligned with good things. She said some of them were a disappointment to me. She said, because, and of course, in all my studies, I really read thoroughly about the different Supreme Court justices and what they stood for and where they were, and to get a feel for my position. And she said, some of them still don't quite understand, but decided to go back to get more experience and to do what they can positively. She said, what's interesting is the group of presidents and former leaders of different countries who are over here. And a lot of them you wouldn't necessarily know, but Egypt, Russian, German, France, Mexico, some South American, it could go on. Some leaders don't want anything to do with who they were. She said, but about 2/3, maybe 3/4 are interested in understanding themselves, and they have a type of collective. We still have those types of organizations if we so choose. It's up to us. Some have just gone into other realms, other vibrations to learn different things, different frequencies. But there are quite a few who have stayed because they have a commitment, since they stepped into such a high level of authority on the earth. They have a commitment to want to, again, better themselves or redirect. And those who have negative intentions are weeded out. They are not allowed in this collective because it has a frequency to it that they can't step into. So in other words, Hitler is not my friend. And, Mussolini is not my friend. But we do work here. Kennedy, John, our president Kennedy, definitely has been very much working with some of the generals also. And I know this is a very U.S. thing, but it's been wonderful. And if Regina was here, she could attest to that, because she talks about in her mother's house that unfortunately are going to be selling, has a big, huge room that they call it was a studio for her father and his artist friends to do all their painting and artwork from. Was huge, but it became the war room because Eisenhower was there and others were there and working to try to reclaim the soldiers who had passed and to reclaim the energy of the land and the integrity of the land. And she said, so whether or not they've decided to accept karma, they are walking the path to further along and reclaim parts of the world, in the energetic, especially since World War I and World War II, to reclaim the integrity and the space of the land, to erase the hostility and the darkness that still somewhat is there, so that it can be neutralized and not, be part of the problem. So I'm kind of getting off topic here, but they just really have put themselves together a marvelous way. It's at some time, I'm telling Jean that if she wants to, you could probably have a whole symposium with certain key leaders telling you from the other side what they're doing now, in terms of moving forward in energy. Does that give you any kind of help, I hope?
Oh, thank you, Ruth. That was very good. I was just curious to see the level of intellectual interaction amongst people of your caliber. Thank you.
Thank you.
I one question that comes up for me right away is, how about Europe? How are all these former leaders, particularly former European leaders, viewing this sort of recapitulation of Europe's karma in a way? Does that make sense?
She's showing me food trucks. Instead of popcorn, she has food trucks. All the different nations' food trucks. You have German food, you have food from Finland, you have food from Australia, Austria. He said, there's a lot going on. She said that there's a lot going on, and it's a very exciting time. And she said, I do not want to put excitement on such a treacherous time situation. But from the point of view of where we are, things have been setting in motion for a while. And this story has been building since 18 whatever, and the wars really started to get bigger and bigger as the globe started to get larger and larger and more population. And she said, so this has been an ongoing story. It's like the never-ending story. And so this is a point in time in history when everybody's getting, they've done their parts if they've chosen to do their parts. We can't really have anything to do with the looky-loos if they want to be there. There's no restrictions for people being involved in hanging out in certain areas. And you have some people or spirit energy now that it's a little mischievous and it's all right, but it's like a little kid that gets a little annoying after a while and they just won't sit down and eat their breakfast. But the Europeans actually have done a lot to brace themselves, because without divulging too much, when things shift for the US, it's kind of going to be like a tidal wave. And so they're girding their loins, if I may say that, and holding themselves to a standard of holding the energy because we're all connected. And so if the United States twists and turns violently, then the rest of the world has to be prepared at some level. And so they're like meteorologists, but they're like meteorologists that watch the political climate and how things are going and who's doing this and that. She said, well, what I will tell you that really is disgusting to me is the clandestine amount of under the radar, dark activities that have been going on for over 100 years in order to remain and attain political power. Money is certainly a part of that, a key factor, those who have money globally. I don't want to sound like Martin, like I've gone to the dark mountain and seen the dark things, but when I asked to see things as I recorded in the writing, that does exist because people have lost their way. They've become disconnected from their connection to source, from light, from love, and that plays itself out. That's the uniqueness of this world, is this world is all about choices. And that's why people come here. And that's why it's exciting. It's almost like the Christians and the Lions, in the arena on Sunday afternoon. Who's going to win? It's that barbaric in some ways. Why do we choose to be here? Because it's interesting to watch human nature. And it's also interesting to watch the positive lights go on in people when they awaken and when they understand and when they have their own personal epiphanies and are able to get to the top of the mountain. And they've finally discovered the essence of creation for themselves. She said, I've watched that. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant thing to watch. So there's more to say, but time-wise, I think I'm going to leave it to that point.
Okay, thanks so much. Peg, you're on.
Yeah, changing the subject a bit, I'd actually like to change it to the other side. I will be dead, Jeannie, and I want to know, with an ethos of service, what can I be doing on the other side?
Ruth has a sign-up sheet.
Put my name down now, Ruth.
She's like, she said, you get some pearls, you get some pearls if you join my team. And she never thought that would be such an issue, that she wore the pearls. And I do have a strand of pearls, but they're broken. But like I said earlier, I have these. And I just felt compulsive about putting them on to honor her. But pearl is also another indigenous word for Mother Earth. It's for Mother Earth, Mother Pearl. And so here's this little Jewish lady, so absolutely filled with the spirit of the earth and the people of the earth and the beauty of the earth. And she said, your body will be gone, but you're never going to be dead, Peg. And she said, that's the other thing. You will just continue to do out of a physical body what you were already doing in a physical body, perhaps more. And you'll have more choices. And if you want to be part of this, you can be. If you don't want to be, then you don't have to be. She said, they talk about the birth rate going down. The birth rate is going down for a lot of reasons, of which most of you will know. But the other reason the birth rate is going down is that the spirits are waiting for this big thing to happen. And when they see this big thing happening and they know the rhythm is really bringing it there, then they're all going to just start coming in to further this new wave of energy and to push it forward into the light and to bring more of the evolution, much like the Renaissance did, and that type of awareness. You see societies that hit these markers, well, all of a sudden everything just takes off, and you come out of the Dark Ages to the Middle Ages, and then you get into, musically, literature, artistically, you get into all this beautiful stuff in Europe that's happened, and that's our measurement of understanding. But if you were to look at the other cultures that are not necessarily so well known, they have their own cycles of stuff that just all of a sudden blooms. But then they don't need to bloom in some ways that we do, because their whole culture is aimed at a different conclusion. She said not everybody on the planet is seeking the same evolutionary space. And she said, I know Jeanne very well because we hang around a lot. She said in the cluster lives that Seth was talking about in his class and what she teaches, you go to these different cultures all around the globe and have all these different life experiences to live what we see as more primitively, or, however we view it. She said it's the potential on the earth is incredible. There's just so much here. And that's what we have to keep redirecting so that people understand that the media is a small portion of our world. And what it shows you, good and bad, is just a small portion of the amazing life that really does happen. So yes, but you never die. So you're just going to decide when you leave your body, where you're going to go next. And some people do fly off to planet Zircon and go into other cosmic areas, and they can't get there fast enough. I've seen them. They're like, I'm out of here, and off they're gone. But then they'll come in and check because it's just too exciting. It's like, who's winning the game? Who's winning? Is it fourth quarter yet? Did they have to put in a wide receiver? Or what's going on? Are the players doing okay? Because it's that kind of active experience on this planet. Now, I want to say one more thing, and then we need to get to two people. I'm apologizing, but I'm not for taking your day, but Jeanne knew this is probably going to happen. When you talk about the aliens, and I don't want to get into a long alien discussion because that could go for another 3 days, she said, but I want to tell you that a lot of the things that because I was curious. She goes, a lot of the things that are being reported or are available in reports, and you've heard this, but I want to say that from what I've learned, a lot of it is us coming back in time to see how we're doing. And we may not look very different, and we may scare ourselves. But there's an infusement of life that's going to take place in the next 100 years. If we make this stride, if the continuity of this connection moves like we want it to move towards evolvement, then we are going to be making incredible strides in terms of understanding our world, which then allows us to understand the worlds, the realms, the many places. And so some of these reportings are very much just, some of it's just always been here. It's part of our life evolution, but we just never wanted to consider that. And then some of it's us coming back to see how we're doing, and we may look quite different. I dare say, Dan, I want to tell you that the experiences that Whitney had with his people coming, those were his people that were coming to see how he was doing when he wrote those books, starting with communion. Now, he may not like that idea, but that's what I've been shown. And sometimes they are our people, but not necessarily from this particular vibration. But I'm saying there will be those from this earth field, because they know how to move through the time centers, these passages, these intersections, through what Jean calls these EBWs. And time travel, yeah, but just traveling through cycles. Words are just really difficult. And so as a consequence, I wanted to put that in there because that is also going to be part of this big wave that takes place. And it may happen while those of you who are seniors are still here, but it also may not happen until some of you have already decided your body was done. And I want you to understand that I took every last bit of essence out of my body I could before I left, because I knew how much I was needed for the court. I knew that. But I also realized I had to let go so that it could take a new shape and turn into what it needs to turn into. Sometimes we have to let go and allow it to cycle itself. She said, but don't quote me as saying that I've talked about UFOs, because I'll deny I ever said, and the tape will destruct in 5 seconds. So, but yes, I just can't help but put that in because there's just so much over here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Ruth. Susan, you are on.
I just want to thank Ruth for joining us and to let her know I have a beautiful set of pearls and I would love to join her team if her team is out of unity and not too far right and too far left. Because I feel what she's saying is as long as there's such hate and dissension and chaos, it's going to be a hard road.
There's no doubt about that, Susan. It's amazing what I'm getting from Ruth. There's still a lot of her that identifies as a human because it hasn't been that long since she's been gone. And I find that particularly inspiring because sometimes those who have been gone for a long time, they don't relate quite as well to what we're going through, even though they understand it. She said, when you think about a strand of pearls, if you thought of every pearl being individual, if you want to call each pearl a planet or each pearl a realm or a reality, and use it not as a rosary, but there are other religions and cultures that do that, but to use it as a tactile tool in meditation to hold it and you see those beautiful pearls and how they're collectively a unit to make a beautiful necklace. And even if it's just seeing the different vibrations in each pearl on the planet, but being able then to reconcile their individuality with unity, and they can be individual and they can be collectively unified and be beautiful. I can wear a single pearl earring or I can wear a whole necklace, but to understand the representation of the mother, she says, she said, I still have the energetic of war in me with my background and the terrible things that was done, of course, to the Jewish population. And she said, I tried very much not to let myself wallow, as I said earlier, in that, because I knew that I wouldn't be as effective as I would like to have been. And she said, I still work with that, because when I do come close to the human field, like I'm doing now, I have to be really strong in myself and be that positive mountain rather than a dark hole of memory when humanity was so horribly directed. And even though this is a repeat potentially, what we're looking for is to get it really removed, to really make sure that root system is not any longer available. And that if anybody is still wanting to hold that belief system, that they really can't connect very positively to anyone else to create another collective of that kind of thinking and that kind of darkness.
Love and light.
Mm.
Thank you.
Ruth, how much can the collective on the other side influence existing players? Are you able to influence members of the Supreme Court, the current
No.
Supreme Court?
We don't go there.
No.
That's a very, very good question. There's a person that was on here, I don't see him right now, Shakib, who's a real close friend of Jane's and has worked with her. And he does a really good energy work, and he was relating to Jean how when he was traveling in DC a couple of months ago, there was this energetic dark cloud all over the District of Columbia, which is, our capital in the US, and how he just really knew he had to stay out of it energetically. But Ruth goes, sometimes we talk to them when they're asleep. And we kind of whisper. We don't approach them unless, and I'm going to let her come in a little more for completely. She goes, it might be a little cheeky, but we go visit them in their dreams at night when they're at home. It's easier to talk to them then. Their guards are down. And we will whisper to them things like, how can you sleep at night? And then we'll say, you're really strong enough to do better. But we don't do that often because really we're not about manipulating. We're about helping people be strong in themselves. So we go where people are like you. We go with groups, whether it's a church group, synagogue, a cultural event, justice programs. We go where people are having the same vibrational interests, which is to better the world. And that's where we go. And we go and we sit in their meetings, or we go and sit in their meditations, or we go and we join the events, and we bring a protocol of energy that we've developed. And it's a harmonic, if you will. So we have a certain sound that we bring as a group, and we place that harmonic into that group. That's how the PSYOP programs work against you. Oh, did I dare say that? I'll have to go there now. Oh my. The PSYOPs groups that the different agencies in different countries use is to use the lower vibration frequencies to disrupt mental thinking and certain flow of brain energy. And I don't have all the technical stuff for you right now. She said, so they take it, but we use it positively. And we come in with, like you would chant, or you would hum, or you would do the om. We come in with a certain sound frequency and we hold it in these events and these places to help join in to continue with uplifting consciousness. So we are not using our words, we're using the sounds, and the sounds are purer from where we are because we do not have as much earth energy, but we have to come into the earth. So it's a little process. And we do it every so often. We come in all sorts of places. And of course, we have friends and people that are close to us wanting to know that we're there. And so we work, and then of course we work with groups like you. I am working. There are other mediums and other, not as many spirit circles as they used to be, as I'm told, but that's kind of been cut down a bit. And there's a lot of really strange people out there thinking they're really contacting me when they're not. But that's how we work. We work with frequency and energy, and we're very committed. And we each have our own places where we go. We know when something's going to happen, and normally there's at least one or two people in each group that we join that we're friends with and come to us from on the other side when they're out of their bodies. They may not know us consciously, but we work. There's so much more of you energetically that works. It's not always in your body. So that's how that happens. I don't know if I'm giving you a good enough explanation, but that's basically what we do.
One of my concerns is that those of us who are outraged at the current situation and the injustice, how can we stop that outrage descending to a lower vibration?
It's fear. It's fear that we won't get out of it. It's fear that the US will drag all the other places down. It's fear, and so what needs to happen is you have to go, as I said earlier, you have to look at your own fear inside of yourself and see where your fear rests that this won't change. Because history obviously is very frightening, and we've seen in other places and times in our historical documents that a lot of loss happens before things right themselves. That's what this district is. That's what this planet is. It's dark and light. It's this contrast, and so the thing is for you then to join Martin and myself. When we put our pearls on and we go up the mountain and we choose to stay there, it does not mean that you're ignoring the world in terms of feeling like you have anything to do with it, or that you're just saying, well, whatever. You're understanding that what helps this world move forward through this cycle is to be the light. You're the lighthouse. The lighthouse does not go looking for sinking ships. The sinking ships find the lighthouse. You're the lighthouse. If anything is strong, that is a good way of putting it. You're the lighthouse. And you continue to be the lighthouse. And your light connects to another, to another, to another, to another, like that strand of pearls. Can you imagine the strand of pearls around the whole world? Almost like around a Christmas tree with the wreaths and the lights. And there's just, hundreds and thousands of pearls of the light going around as a network around the planet. You will have your own grief because it's outrageous. It's outrageous. I know that for Jean, watching her, people who cut her lawn, people that come and help her with her home, friends, and worried about agents coming in, it's deplorable. Especially in California, I mean anywhere, but California particularly. But she has trusted her guides and trusted her experiences, like with Gandhi, and she was over in Switzerland when the Berlin Wall went down. And that experience was given to her as a marker to see that things will change. But that's where we use that mountaintop metaphor. And there's others as well. It will change, but we're the people that see it. If we don't have the vision, others can't grasp. The vision has to become contagious. Hate became contagious. Why not love? Jean's a big Beatles fan, and John Lennon's, all you need is love. Love is refusing to give in to hatred. Love is refusing to be hateful in our own speech. Love is refusing to see division. The mind is a powerful thing. Everything on this planet is created because we've thought it to be so. And people just don't fully, really get that. To think is to create. Your thoughts are everything. They're so powerful. So when you have the negative thinking, you have to then take your little eraser and say, right now I'm going to put in the positive. And that's going to be my direction.
I have one little story which I know everybody will like, especially Ruth, which is I talked to a friend deceased 40 years ago. And of course, I saw him looking wonderful and well. And I asked him what he was doing. And he said, social work. And then I said, what are you going to do in the future? And he said, social work. And then I said, what should I be doing? And he said, social work. Each time with more emphasis. And this was just wonderful. I thought you would like to hear that. And thank you very much, Ruth.
That's a wonderful story. And as far as the AI goes, it's what we do with it. It's like everything. It's what we do with it. What do we do with the water system? What do we do with medicines? What do we do with our resources? Do we pander them? Do we misplace them? Do we use them negatively or do we use them positively? Jeanne knows a person who was on the ground floor of AI, and it changed that person's life because it wasn't necessarily positive. But I don't want to leave this session today with that, because it still is a matter of what we see it to be and how we choose to use it. And if we have leaders and we have a consciousness in our society that will use it wisely, then it's a good thing. But if we decide to make it, it's like when they developed the bomb, the technology for that was devastating to, I'm sorry, whatever his name was, I've forgotten, who made the movie about, and how they ruined his life after he developed what the government wanted him to develop.
Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer. And it's a matter of what we do with it, and what is the consciousness of the people in power. And if we have strong leadership, if we have a good society that expects certain conditions, things will be used fairly well. It's when we allow what we develop to be used in a negative fashion, then we have horror. And so it's a matter of choice, how we want to see it and how we want to use it again. Nothing is bad or good until we make it so.
Thank you, Ruth.
So Ruth has this last thing to say before we close. She said, thank you for letting me dominate today. Thank you for letting me come in. I had a lot to say, and I'm so grateful that you all were very interactive and engaged. She said, if you take anything away from this today, I'm giving out pearls at the end of the show, and I want you to receive the pearls. They're metaphors, but it's part of the club. And I really want you to feel the energy of those pearls in you that are very cosmic, if you will, but they're also of the earth. And that unity of consciousness that you talk about. I'm learning those phrases and those words, but I also know that this is a pivotal time in consciousness and cycling for this particular time in this planet. And you are all designed to be here by choice. You all have the tools. You have more tools than I do. I'm still learning. You probably know more about lots of things than I do. I have a different vantage point. But all I really want you to feel is that mountain, those pearls, and your connectedness to what you call source and the divinity, if you will, of the system and what it's here for, this divine system where peace and love is achievable at some points. It's not necessarily going to be a perfect world, but it is here for growth and development. And we are at a time when our thoughts and how we act and how we perceive things will have a positive effect and shift consciousness in the direction of balance, because it's balance that ultimately you all want. It's that the scales of justice, which I was sworn to be able to, even when I didn't agree with something, bring the justice out of it, to bring the balance out of it. And if you can see yourselves as social workers, which is a great metaphor, please continue. And my pearls are part of that social working club. And I'm just so grateful that you've given me a platform today to express and to gift you and to speak to you and share my energy with you. I'm so very, very blessed. And so I'm going to step out of G now. And I just thank you all so very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you.
Ooh,
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 wow.
it's oh, this wow, wow, indeed. Oh my God. Thank you, Jeannie. Oh,
Thank you,
thank you,
Jeannie.
Ruth.
That was so powerful.
I'm almost tempted to say, let's be that be it for today. But I think probably one more would be appropriate. How about Jean? How about Robin Williams to lighten to
Good morning, Vietnam. How about
Oh, I
that,
saw that
Robin
movie.
Williams?
we need a little lightening up, Robin.
How about that, Robin Williams? He said, I'm going to pull some more teeth out of Jean so she really will be my clown.
Yeah, Robin often crashes our Zoom meetings, and
Whoa.
here we go.
I don't know. That was some transition. Can you just give me a moment? It's like all of a sudden I feel like I got all sorts of hair on my arms. Um, he's going to back up just a little bit. He said, you guys don't need me. He said, what you need is to remember to laugh. And he said, I can't follow Ruth. I mean, what can follow some little Jewish woman? Nobody. I mean, she's got it all. She's got it all. And what can I say? I'm here to lend a hand. I'm here with all my friends on the other side. And he said, I don't want to blow Jean's circuits too much, but uh, he said, I think I'm going to talk to you about Suicide Prevention Month. Did you want to be uplifted? Let me talk to you about Suicide Prevention Month. He said, I'm one of the members of that group, so I could talk and speak to suicide. Um, he's trying to be funny. Because of course, Robin took himself out because of the Lewy body dementia that he was suffering from. And he said, there's going to be, he said, I don't feel very funny today, Dan. He said, I do feel very blessed and privileged to be in a space of Ruth. Even over here, she's revered. She said some people lose their reverence or their respect, or not necessarily respect for their title. He said, but she's one that when she came over, there was a huge crowd for her. When she won't tell you that, but there was a huge crowd of people over for her. He said, but I do want to tell you who I have with me, and that is I have Graham Greene over here. And he actually wrote through me on Tuesday. He was an American indigenous actor who passed away, and there's just a whole slew of them. But they're more about just what you got from Ruth, because that's about as far as all of you need to go right now. Robin does want to tell you that he's part of the social work, and this week is his clown week. So he's going in with lots of clowns, and he said, when you talk about clown week, he says, I'm going in where the clowns are, which is all of them are in Washington, D.C. And so we go in there and do little, and we take our popcorn with us and cotton candy and our carnival attitude. And actually, as Jean's speaking now, I can see it. They go in there and they're making the balloon dogs and animals, and they're passing out stuff and trying to break the energy of this spell that is over our Congress people. So nobody's really doing anything but talking. And he said, we go in because we go in just to lighten things up, to hopefully somebody will wake up. He said, we don't go in too often. We have to be prepared. We have to wear rubbers when we go in. Oh my God. He said, because of all the shit, you have to go in so protected, because it's like a waste dump when they go in. He said, if we could just throw some dynamite in the Capitol building, keep the lid on, and he said, we could start all over again. It would be great. But I don't think I can really hold his energy too much after doing Ruth for that long. But yeah. Yeah. If Regina was here, she could carry on, but I think I didn't think I was going to just do Ruth the whole time. I thought we were going to talk about some other stuff. But is Hyacinth still here? Yeah. Hyacinth, they really do play. If they want to play sports, they do play sports over there. But they have other things they do. But what I'm also seeing is they still play sports down here. If they want to. I mean, there's a lot of football courts, and there's a lot of basketball courts and tennis courts and football fields and soccer fields that are available. And there's a lot of spirit that plays on those fields or plays on those courts when nobody's there. And when they're doing that, some of them are just because they were really moved over. Others are there because they really want to. It helps balance the energies. So they have a fun game because they don't play. Oh, this sounds like a pun. I don't mean it to be this. It's not ruthless. Sorry, when they're playing. They're just playing for fun. And
which is how it should be with sports.
Yeah. So and I've seen them. I've seen them. I know at Halloween we sit out in the front on the driveway, and it's going to be a little different this year because my son-in-law's up just across the street now, and my other son-in-law's here. But Eric would put up a film, and we were all outside, and so we'd hand the candy out that way. And I would see all these spirits going up and down the street as we were sitting there with the humans and then the Halloween people who were having fun with Halloween, the spirits. And they weren't nasty. I didn't see any negative ones. If I did, I just sent them away. But they come here for our celebrations. They love to be with us.
Do the spirits also dressed up like ghoulies and ghosties for Halloween?
Yeah, some of them do. A lot of aliens. They love to dress up as aliens, which I think is just funny. But that's why I say to see these things, I wish people could see what I see, because fortunately I'm centered enough that I know that I'm not going crazy, but it's hysterical because some of the things they show me are just so much fun and just really put light into such a session. But I know Jimmy Carter was waiting to come in, and he's just been like drinking tea going, oh my God, I have to wait for women all my life. But he's, exactly. But he's another one. When I can see Rosalind right next to him, like just tapping him on his hand. It's okay, dear. We knew that she was going to probably take the whole afternoon. It's okay. Because Jimmy has a lot to say, and I haven't been able to give him much attention recently. But he's another one that, if you read what he wrote, it's on Cosmic Voices. He talks about when he was in the Oval Office, there were always two groups of people in his office, the military and the money. That's all there was. No matter how they were represented, they were either part of the military or they were part of the money people. And that's all that was going on in the White House. All the money. We need such reform over here in the United States. When they let people give endless amounts of money to campaigns, that just blew it all open. But anyway, Jimmy's very eager. I love having him come through. He's a wonderful energy. He is delighted. He said, I never thought much about this kind of way of communicating, but he said he always felt spirit in his own way, but he's very open to this. And yeah, they're just all rooting for us. All of them are rooting for us. And of course, yeah, anyway, whew, yeah, I know my limits. I can't bring any more
No.
in, but thank you all so much.
I think we might finish at this point. I think we've got so much to think about from Ruth and the all of the other things that you've brought through to us, Jeannie. Thank you so much we understand that it takes a lot of energy on your part, and we hope that you can recover quickly because it is an energy drain.
Well, the thing about it, just so everybody knows and they're comfortable, I mean, she's been around me for the last 36 hours, real close. So we were already making that transition. And I plan my day when I'm going to be, for me, it's the afternoon. So I plan my day around that. I don't do anything else, so that I'll be fresh, and then I'll, unwind afterwards. But it's a shift from like, Ruth to then to Robin, who's just all over the place. And I knew that was what I can do, but he's definitely been here. I mean, there's so many of your friends and your spirit friends with you. I mean, when I was getting ready for this, my room got so full. I told everybody, get out on the lawn, go out in the backyard. I said, I can't walk through here. I'm bumping into everybody energetically. I was feeling very congested, and so it's like, stand out there. We'll call you in. So I'm never lonely or alone. Sometimes I say, can you leave me alone? But I wouldn't give up this gift for anything, even with all the treacherous things that went on. And I got a lot of. Dan and I had a nice long conversation the other day, filling him in on what Regina are hoping to do with this book on the Challenger, and he hadn't realized the level of treachery and disappointment and things that happened. And I'm still trying to decide how much of it I want to share with people, because really in the end, I want people to be feeling blessed and inspired and to be able to find their mountain. And
Gene, I think that's a challenge for all of us. It's to, on the one hand, to not be naive and to see what goes on in this world, and then to hold our own space and our own integrity and our own center and our own mountain, if you will, right there. And so sometimes I think of the Christian symbol of the cross. In the sense of our having to hold both of these polarities at the same time. in a way that's healthy and constructive and positive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're trying to hold. I like to use the word the sacred or the divinity of it all, plus the humanity of it all. And I always think of myself as a spiritual being having human experience rather than a human experience having a spiritual experience. When all of us are old pros, we've been around forever, not just this lifetime, but many, many, many others, and we're here to aid in the world right now best we can, just by being who we are. Our presence is 9/10 of what is necessary, just being here and being emotionally healthy and mentally and having compassion for ourselves and compassion for others and having compassion for those people who were just disconnected and to see them connecting, but connecting to the light and love and all that kind of good stuff.
Jeannie, would you like to close the shield and just disconnect us?
Yes. I'm just savoring this afternoon, and I'm so glad it's recorded so I can savor it again. So as we close our circle via Zoom, I just love it. And we're in this wonderful group shield. Let's bring ourselves back into our body because we were expanded. So we are back in bowl, back in soles of our feet. So our energy is back. And then I always have us change our psychic signature. And that is because of all the programs out there that still want to mess with us energetically. A little paranoia goes a long way. And we just make the suggestion. I'm changing my psychic signature. We are separating from one another as united as we are. We do need to have space and boundaries between one another now. And we're just changing the shape of our field. We're 0% connected to portals or functions, which means we're back in our body. And we're just moving out of the group shield and moving back into our own singular shield, if you so choose, which is a wonderful place to reside. And protection just brings a nice energy with our guides and helps us be in this world and be protected from some of the insanity that floats around. We see ourselves waving goodbye, giving hugs. This is a place where we can all hug each other, even if we're 10,000 miles away. So we're separating, we're moving outward. We're thanking our spirit teams that were here to help us, our guides, the Ruth for her being here, the others. Just thank you so much. May we all feel the blessings. May we all be the blessings. May we feel the joy of our creation and be revitalized and inspired as we go about the next week and so forth until next Sunday. Bless you all. Bless you all. Bless you all.